Tonight on the Cover One Buffalo podcast, we are joined by Adrian Hernandez and Scott Gulbransen of Bet Radio out in Vegas to talk about Bills Raiders in week 2. But first, our guys, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, I am so ready to talk about anything else that I'm genuinely excited about this Raiders show tonight. I am so ready to be on to Las Vegas.
Yeah, luckily, we talked about it a little bit, had a little comment going back and forth with Joe Marino on the Twitter earlier that these short weeks, like I was thinking about it today as I was dropping my kids off to school. If you're going to have a just disgusting week 1 or week performance, it's real nice to have it on a short week where you only get a chance to consume it real quick and then move on. And because you had that one day where you're trying to watch that back, you're short on the normal prep that we would probably have. I can't speak for you. I know for myself, luckily there's only one game to watch of the Raiders. I didn't have that 4 to 5 game chunk that I usually like to watch. So this early season's a little weird. Having a short schedule is a little tight, but it is helping that process for me. I don't know, for those listening on the podcast forum tomorrow, they won't see, I have forgiven Josh Allen on my sign. And so, yeah, I'm in a good spot right here. Good berry variant, Buffalo on the Brain, by the way, saying nice hat. Part of my healing process was meeting up with him and his brother Joe for some delicious wings at Judy's in Niagara Falls. So you heal through food and you heal through friendship. So I hope that you've healed as well, Greg.
Yeah, I am a big supporter of retail therapy. So I often get myself new things when I'm not feeling great. So I respect it. I had wings
Treat
today
yourself.
too. Yeah, you got to. Without further ado, as we said, we are on to Las Vegas. And while Aaron and along with Eric and I were out in Las Vegas for the NFL draft, we sat across from this wonderful, handsome gentleman and his co-host, Adrian Hernandez, Scott Gulbransen, gentlemen from, you guys may see them on Bet Radio out in Las Vegas, as well as many other places. You see their written work and out on the screens. Adrian, Scott, how are we doing this evening?
We're
Good,
doing
fellas.
Fantastic, man. Thanks for so much for having us. Bills Mafia, as a wrestling fan, I love you guys and your guys' use of tables. So I come here in peace. I appreciate you guys, and thanks for having us.
Now, wait, you guys said too in your intro something about do they have good wings in Buffalo? I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's rare. It's very hidden. It's a hidden gem.
Judy's, I got it.
Yeah, when you're up in the falls,
In the falls,
we
I
got
love
a
it.
couple sneaky places. There's some good rankings out there. So, honestly, coming into the season, I don't know that Bills and the Raiders had the exact same expectations coming into the year, and then they certainly had very different experiences in week 1. So, Scott, we'll start with you. How were things coming into the season and then seeing, honestly, a pretty impressive performance on Sunday?
Yeah, well, I think there's a duality to the Raiders because, in essence, the Raiders are in rebuilding mode, right? So the disastrous years of John Gruden and Mike Mayock drafts, where they had the most draft capital the franchise has had in over 30 years and pretty much wasted it away with the exception of Josh Jacobs and Max Crosby. Those two guys are really what remains, a couple other players as well. So Josh McDaniels, they come in, Dave Ziegler come in last year. They signed Derek Carr to an extension, sort of. They signed Darren Waller. Things don't work out. Those guys don't buy in, so they're gone now too. So it's a bit mixed reaction, right? Adrian and I talk all the time during the off season about this, and it was like, yeah, you think they'll be better, but yet, boy, they had a lot of questions. They turned over almost the entire defense because it needed to get better. It was ranked 28th last year, so it was a mixed bag. But I think there was some enthusiasm because there was change that people viewed as positive because no matter what you think of Derek Carr, it was time for an amicable divorce between him and the Raiders. So the fact that he was gone, I people got excited. They thought the Raiders might move up and draft a quarterback, which they did not do. Instead, they get Jimmy Garoppolo, which some people were not thrilled with because of his injury history. But I think going into the season, there was some optimism because I think people are being a little more real about where they are in the development of the team and of the franchise. And the game in Denver was a good example of, okay, if they run the system and they do it efficiently, then they put themselves into a position to win the game. They could have very easily lost the game, but they made a couple key plays. And so I think people walk away from that thinking, okay, great start. 3 of your first 4 games on the road, and game number 2 in Buffalo. Luckily, it's not during the cold weather months. And so I think people felt pretty good about it. They feel pretty good about the win, but they know this week is going to be a really big challenge for the Raiders.
Yeah, real quick. Who did feel good about Jimmy G are the women that visit Las Vegas, right? Everyone like that.
Some of the men too.
I know.
Some of the men too.
Hey, yeah, hey, we don't hate. It's people always make the jokes about like, oh, this is like if you bought Derek Carr on Wish or on Temu, and it's almost like this is if you bought Derek Carr on OnlyFans.
Yeah,
like
he's way handsome. Like Derek Carr is that would be the Wish version. Anyway, Adrian, I want to.
No, but it's true. It's true. Yeah. By the way, I was there at the opening press conference, the one that he actually showed up, not the one that they canceled 5 minutes before. No, he is. But continue, Aaron. Sorry.
Well, so kind of to segue into that, the expectation and some of the turnover and things like that. The real question I want to have that I haven't had a really chance to, except for my friend Greg Morris, to talk to Raiders fans and people that cover the team is. From the outside looking in, we've had experience sort of following Josh McDaniel just as a Patriots, coordinator and where he was going to go and that tilt in the AFC, wherever he was going to go, all the rumors. And
always seemed like there was some secret deal with the Patriots. And all of a sudden,
like he was going to take over eventually. So we know him pretty well. And, I always reference my brother, the Bears fan. He really wanted McDaniels to come in and take over that team, right, as a coach. How did you guys feel knowing there's also this other side to him of what happened with the Colts and the culture that was in the Broncos? And you see some of it kind of rumbling in Las Vegas with people not being happy and moving on from people, maybe some stuff with Chandler Jones. How's that all settling in with Raiders fans here and early in the season?
Well, look, first off, I love that you have me and Scott on the show because going into this season, we did plenty of season previews, and I kind of think for the first time we're on polar opposites. Where he's more patient. I've kind of been like, hold on, what's going on here? And one of the main reasons is going into last year, I kind of had the perspective of what happened in Denver happened a long time ago. He's going to learn from his mistakes. He came back. He's under the Belichick tree. And I just thought that there would be just a different mentality. And going into last year, there was so much expectations. And you trade Devontae Adams. And obviously this division is hard as hell. But I just thought that they would compete more. And when that didn't happen, and I see some of these moves, although I understand some of them where they're trying to recreate the Patriots way, I'm kind of like, well, has the Patriots way ever worked for anyone outside of Bill Belichick in New England, outside of a few years with the Jets? With Sanchez and everything that was going on over there with Mangini, didn't work with Cornell, didn't work with Bill O'Brien, and I can name others. Mike Vrabel, sure. So the roster turnover, Scott brought up the contract to Darren Waller. They let him go. Well, he's not that good of a run blocker. They're trying to do 2 tight end sets. They're trying to run the ball heavy. I can understand that. Josh Jacobs, look at the success he had last year. Now you get Jimmy G, system quarterback, can't throw the deep ball. All this attention was spent on Devontae Adams. They're not doing that anymore, which means there's more in the box. So now you're taking away Josh Jacobs and the success he had. So I'm kind of sitting here like, what the hell's going on? To the point that I had Scott, I'm like, yo, what are the expectations now? And one of the bigger reasons, and I think it is because I'm a father now and I view money a lot more responsibly, or at least I think so. When I see the valuation and I see the Raiders are worth $6 billion, I see that the Raiders have the most expensive ticket. I'm sitting here wondering, how long are these fans going to accept rebuilding years and not being able to compete and doing these turnovers? We're going into year 3. I need to see more, and I haven't seen it. Granted, they did win last week, and we're the team here right now that's in first place, which I thought that this would never be happening when I saw the schedule.
Sole possession.
It is one game. It was an ugly game, but hey, they hanged on, and you know what? We'll give Jimmy G some credit because I was very negative going into this season.
I know I saw, I don't know who it was. Someone posted earlier that if no matter where he goes, Jimmy G is just at the top of all the analytics. Are we sure analytics are good? Are we sure analytics, like, are we sure we should believe in it the way we do? But he does. Like, I think for whatever people think about him, and obviously everyone goes to the looks and all the other things like that, there is an efficient brand of football that he has figured out, that he does know how to operate. And I think a lot of people attributed it to, oh, it was, McDaniels, or, oh, it was Kyle Shanahan. And like, we're on enough different stops now with different surrounding talent, with different situations, that I think it's fair to question what ceiling there is, but maybe there is a higher floor than what people have given him credit for. And that level of efficiency, I think, seeing it in all these different stops, it's okay to admit that there must be something to it. And
he's the handsome
Scott,
Kirk Cousins.
Hey, it's not far off. It's
right.
not far off. So Scott,
except Jimmy G wins playoff games.
There you go.
Teams win playoff games, but yes,
one Emmanuel Sanders this far away from winning a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Like fingertips away from winning a Super Bowl. So let's get into the matchup here this week and talk a little bit about this Bills defense and the Raiders offense. And I am, it's hard in today's NFL to figure out how much can you do with a couple stars and then some different questions. And I think the Raiders are a genuine test of that, because, we'll start with the running game. Watching that game again, for anybody who thought last year was just a contract year, incentive or some blip on the radar, Josh Jacobs is a grown man running with that football. So I'll start with you, Scott. Is it just that, hey, he kind of had bad timing with the way current economics and the contracts work, and that we think, hey, we're just going to roll with it here? They gave him a little extra bump to be able to make sure he feels a little bit of love, and then we'll deal with it again next offseason. But it certainly seemed like he's bought in as any running back I can see on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Josh Jacobs is a good guy, good kid. He works hard. So from a football perspective, I never had any doubt that he would be there week one. In fact, on our show, we talked about it when he wasn't going to sign the tender and they were going through all that stuff, when the running backs did their Zoom call, all that jazz. We knew he would be back for week one. We just had that feeling because of who he is. And he's a good back. I mean, there's no question about it. But yeah, the economics, look, it's a supply and demand issue. It's simple economics. People can say it's not fair, but that's the way it is. It just is. And so I think the Raiders, when you look at a team and you see a guy that talented who meant that much to the team, the fan in you, the kind of emotional state that fans get into, and people just from a general knowledge perspective are saying, well, this guy was your offense last year. How could you not sign him? That's true. But you know what? If you've ever run a business, sometimes you let good employees leave because you can't afford them. You have other things you have to do. And so you have to make those tough decisions. That's what the NFL is. And the Raiders are not a complete product. If they were just a running back away from being a Super Bowl contender, maybe they do something different because they can capitalize. But if you look at the statistics, you can go over and over and over again. After 5 years, their productivity falls off a cliff for running back. So, enjoy Josh Jacobs. Now, I don't think he'll be back next year unless something crazy happens, or if the market changes a little bit and he wants to stay in Las Vegas. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, he is a fantastic player, not only running the ball, but if you watch the game-winning first down that the Raiders had against the Broncos on a 3rd and 8 where Jimmy Garoppolo ran for the first down, watch the block that Josh Jacobs throws to free him up. So this guy takes every part of his game seriously. For as a human being, I hope he gets as much money as he can get wherever he can get it. But the reality is, with what you have to do in Las Vegas with the Raiders, I just don't see them paying that much for a running back. And oh, by the way, whether the Patriot way works or not, it's sort of the way they're running the team as well. And tell me when the Patriots paid a lot of money for a running back. Tell me when the Baltimore Ravens have paid a lot of money for the running back. They don't do it. So I don't anticipate them changing their stripes for him.
He's welcome to stay here in Buffalo over the weekend.
Yeah, seriously. If he has a nice time, we'll show him some good wing places.
Absolutely. I'll take him up to Judy's.
He'd be great up there. Yeah. He would be awesome up there.
Yeah. So, Adrian, the last question here on offense is, that connection where obviously we saw the mind meld that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams had for so long, and then you make the change last year, and obviously Davante Adams is so talented that it's going to work with anybody. The man's just a route running savant. He's also has kind of that combination of the route running with Stephon Diggs, but also some of the DeAndre Hopkins element of he's open when he's not, because he catches everything no matter where it is in his sphere. So now a third year with a third different quarterback, I was curious, what were we going to see? How is that going to translate right off the bat? Certainly didn't look like they missed an awful lot in week one. What are your thoughts on seeing that early connection between Davante Adams and, of course, Jimmy G?
I will say, strangely enough, game one, Jacoby Myers, a Patriot pickup this offseason, was kind of his safety blanket last game. He caught 2 touchdowns. And Davante Adams was a little bit quiet, but I think like the greatness of Davante Adams, and come on, Jimmy G, you know, he's going to find Davante Adams. I don't think there's many quarterbacks in this league that won't. So it'll be interesting to see this season for that to really show itself, because this game, like I said, Jacoby Myers was his safety blanket. He did get a helmet-to-helmet hit. He's in concussion protocol. So
I was just going to say
might not play. Yeah, so Jacoby Myers, he didn't practice today. He might not play. Davante Adams dealing with a foot injury, but it was more they were just playing it safe today, practicing in West Virginia, by the way, because they're trying to stay on the East Coast to get acclimated to the early start time. But I think that connection with Jimmy G and Davante, I think it'll be there. And it's just something that we haven't seen yet, because look, guys, the weather wasn't good. It was 17-16. It was a sloppy game, even though Josh Jacobs didn't have the greatest game. Both teams had around 100 yards in penalties. There was over 20 penalties called in the game. So, like, I can't take much out of that game other than the drive that Scott just mentioned, where Jimmy G ran it and sealed the deal with the 3rd and 8. The Raiders held the ball the last 6 minutes of the game, and they controlled the pace. And Jimmy G did things that he needed to do to not only win the game, but kind of show the team like, yo, not only am I a leader, I'm going to do what I need to do to win for this team. So we'll see what happens. Jimmy G also dealing with a foot injury as you pull up. Shout out to your producer. He's a Notre Dame or Michigan fan, whatever he is. They're both disgusting, but he did a great job pulling this up.
Blue. I was going to say, we'll insert this here since some of the names we just talked about were there from an offensive standpoint. Obviously, I hate to see that. The scariest stuff that you see nowadays is that couple seconds after the hit with Jacoby Myers, and seeing him look off to the side while he was frozen there was terrifying. So certainly praying that he's as well as he possibly can be. Some of the other pieces here, I'll let Aaron talk about some of the Chandler Jones stuff when defense comes up. From everything I heard, Davante Adams and everything there, Jimmy, those seem to be very precautionary. Does that seem to be the case?
Yeah, 100%. Have fun, Aaron, with this Chandler Jones talk.
Yeah, well, hey, one thing I want to say about the Jimmy G, Davante Adams. Remember, in the game in Denver, Jacoby Myers was targeted 10 times, and Davante Adams was targeted 9. So he didn't have the touchdowns or the yards. He's 66 yards, I think, on 9 catches versus 81 for Jacoby Myers.
Also, a little more downfield, a little higher ADOT.
Exactly. But so I think Adrian's 100% right. I think they'll connect over time. You have to get in the rhythm, and sometimes guys just connect right away, and that's what you saw with Jacoby Myers. And that might be the system too. They're just a little more familiar. Even though Davante Adams played in it last year, it's different quarterback, different tendencies, different looks, and understanding what's going on there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, they're different types of quarterbacks, and I'm sure he's getting used to it.
Well, let's do it. Let's flip it over to this defensive side of the ball. I'm going to spare you a little bit the Chandler Jones conversation for a start here, but I want to talk about more instead of just diving right into the layer by layer position groups. A lot of turnover for you guys on this defense from a year ago. And you brought it up earlier, 28th ranked defense. I think maybe 27th in DVOA. Not a great group. Obviously, Max Crosby, super great, fantastic. But you turn it over and it's really what? Max Crosby and Nate Hobbs. There's not much else left over from the previous year's group. So what going into this season, what were you expecting either from a schematic change or just this personnel change that was going to increase? And what were the expectations of like the increase of how much improvement are you going to see from this defense in one year?
Yeah. I mean, look, they drafted their number 7 overall. They drafted Tyree Wilson, right? So you're talking about an edge guy. Now he was hurt when they drafted him. So that was they've got criticism for that, and I totally understand it. Some people are like, why are you drafting? You could have drafted Jalen Carter, which is now everybody's line, right? We could have drafted Jalen Carter. But Tyree Wilson is the guy they're looking for, and he did not have a great game in Denver. He's still trying to work his way into game shape because he only played 12 snaps in the preseason and was only in camp for a couple weeks. So they needed to address all three levels of the defense. So they went out and they did that. Obviously you can't do it in one draft, but they've done it. They went out, they got Jacorian Bennett, one of the steals, I'm telling you, will be one of the steals in the draft. Very physical cornerback out of the University of Maryland. He's going to be the other guy opposite Marcus Peters on the outside. And he was in Denver. And so they addressed that piece of it. Yeah. Played every snap.
Hobbs is a baller.
And Hobbs is a baller, best tackler on the team, a really good pick. And so you look at those guys. So they have some guys there. Up front on the defense, you talk about Max Crosby, obviously, but in the middle, they have some guys who performed well. Jerry Tillery, who was a cast-off from the Chargers, performed well in preseason. Against Denver, they really struggled in the first half, came along in the second half and did a better job. But that's what the Raiders needed. The Raiders have not had a consistent pass rush up the middle in probably 11 years. And so Max Crosby, as good as he is, he gets doubled and triple teamed sometimes because they can't push anything up the middle. Then don't even get me started on linebackers because they still have none. Although Divine Diablo,
I like Diablo a little bit though.
Yeah, Diablo's good. He's played well. He's coming along. But when you watch them in coverage, it's like Adrian and I out there covering people.
I was going to say Spillane. I don't know if you guys heard the podcast where Josh was with Bussin' with the Boys and he talked about milk checks.
Yes.
I think there's going to be some milk checks this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's the difficult part, but they're getting better on the back end. Safety's still difficult for them. They went out and they got Marcus Epps, was supposed to be a big signing. He's a team captain. He didn't play a great game in Denver. And then Trayvon Morig, who was another draft pick from the Gruden regime, had a great rookie season. Did not do well last year, and this year it's been a mixed bag. He's got to perform or he won't be back next year. So it's a mixed bag, but that's why I predicted 7 wins, top 8, because they can't get the defense fixed in 1 year. It's just not possible.
It's a lot. And especially going into the season, obviously you draft Tyree Wilson, having that injury, you were not probably anticipating that Chandler Jones wasn't going to be playing in this game, right? When all this happened. So Adrian, I think that you really wanted to talk about Chandler Jones. It feels like this is something that you're really interested in having a conversation about. So why don't you tell us, as a observer that's kind of just seen the tweets? We've had our own drama here, so I'm not getting involved in other teams' drama. I don't know the inner workings of the story, but now that I got you here, can you tell us what's going on there?
Look, man, 3 days before the season starts, I am recording a season preview with my buddy here. It's joining me, Scott, and his co-host Mo. And they're like, hey, man, have you been on Instagram yet? And I was like, unfortunately, I was being an adult and I've been to work all day. I haven't. I clicked on that, saw his profile, and I was like, oh, we are screenshotting messages from the owner of the team in which the owner's like, look, man, I don't care about you as a player. When you're a Raider, you're always a Raider. That's not a phrase we just throw around to put in the building in the headquarters. Like, I'm seriously, do you need help? What's going on? Because essentially, I don't know if you guys can swear or not, so I'm not going to. He was wilding out on Instagram. I don't even know if this was about playing time, if there was an injury or they didn't want him to play. Apparently, he wasn't allowed in the building before the game, which may not be true. He probably just didn't have the card or not the right card. I don't know what's going on there. I don't want to say any shade of his family and some of the issues that they've had that have been public. But it's really just, you asked me about Josh McDaniels and some of the drama, although this is completely different than some of the things. But it's just like every year with this team, there's always something that, like, there's no, to me, unless I'm missing, unless I'm out of the loop, and Scott, you can confirm, I don't know what started this. I don't think it was something that was public, that was known to the world. But now everything that's going on. In fact, I got a tweet earlier today, said, hey, do you know if Chandler Jones is going to play? Signed on to his Instagram, quoting some rap song with pay me or whatever the hell's going on. I don't think he's going to play tomorrow on Sunday. Just a guess. Scott, am I missing something on where this actually started?
No, I think though that you kind of have to look back in history because it was so out of the blue. To Adrian's point, he's absolutely right. Even though he didn't know about it that day, you start reading and you're like, what the heck is going on here? Because it was out of the blue. Although there was an indication there was something going on because during camp he was absent for 10 days. Not absent, but he wasn't practicing for 10 days. But they wouldn't tell us because you don't have to do injury reports during camp.
Real quick, had he passed his initial physical or he was on PUP?
Oh yeah, no, he wasn't on PUP. There was no physical.
So he had passed the physical. He was in.
He was, okay. So there was no.
He was there at the start of camp.
Correct. He was there at the start of camp, but then he for 10 straight days wasn't practicing leading up to all this. But you go back to 2016, fellas, when he was with the New England Patriots, and middle of the night he shows up at a police station shirtless, having some kind of episode, telling the police who come out the back door, hey, I was told to come here, and he lays on the ground with his hands behind his head, and so they investigated. They went to his house. They said they smelled burnt marijuana, but they had no reason to arrest him. He didn't do anything wrong, but it was a very wild, well-covered incident. So he's had these incidents. Adrian obviously mentioned some of the family issues, obviously who his brother is in UFC, Jacques Jones, right? Yeah, so who knows what's going on? From what I've been told, and it's not from anybody in that camp per se, is that he's having issues, and they're personal issues. And yes, he's taking it out on the team. And I'm not excusing the team because I don't know the politics of what's happening with him and the coach and the GM and all that stuff and the owner. But you start publicizing that stuff openly, you're not only ending that relationship, but you're also telling other teams, do we want this guy? I mean, we're going to send him messages and he's going to publicize them if he doesn't like them. It's a very strange situation.
We're talking about how's it starting, right? I guess I'm interested in how's this end? What is a resolution now that the dirty laundry has seemingly gotten out there? Obviously, there's a lot of money involved. You probably can't just walk away. I don't know the contract details, but what's the end for this look like? Is he going to suit up this year? Or are you just going to get over this? Where's that go?
I think what Adrian said.
Yeah, I think at this point he may be cut. You could bring up the money, but the other thing that if you want to talk about this from a strictly on the field aspect, for all intents and purposes, he's underperformed. And, you could kind of see with the draft pick of Tyree Wilson of what their idea was on the defense, which is let's build a killer defensive line and let's start from there. Well, we thought we had Crosby and Jones and that Tyree could come in there. Chandler did not have a good season. He did okay towards the end, but it's been underwhelming. So at this point, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, man. And ultimately, it's not worth it. And this stuff is crazy. And
to your guys' points earlier, right? Like, I think you have reasonable expectations of where the franchise is now. It's not like moving on from him doesn't take away your Super Bowl hopes
any
for
long
this year.
term,
right?
Any long term plans?
Yeah.
No.
It's from a financial
cap hit.
Not to drag you guys down after a victory Monday. We're just bringing in here and just
basically if you cut him now, you keep all of the cap hit for this year plus an extra $12 million next year.
Yep.
Yeah. You get no real relief. Plus, you still have to eat another chunk next year. So it's certainly not an easy financial decision.
Yeah, and unless there's something now, there has been examples in the past of players who kind of lose it, do whatever. And I don't know what's going on with Chandler Jones, so I don't want to pass judgment on the guy. But
Roquan Smith had an episode in Chicago, came back seemingly fine, and then went off to have a great.
Yeah. So, but there are ways NFL teams and in the structure of contracts, which we don't have his contract to look through it, where they could, if he has violated something, he has done something wrong, where that he could be fined and all that. What they might do, to Adrian's point, I don't think he'll ever play it down for the Raiders. I think what'll happen is they'll negotiate with his agent for some sort of settlement, right? So it's like, we're not going to pay you the full contract because you violated this, and this, but we want you to leave, and here's what we're willing to do for you, and then that becomes a negotiation. That's happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Aaron, anything else on that side of the wall?
Yeah, no, just Max Crosby, keep him away from us. That's about it. We'll talk about that more later.
Well, he's good regardless. He's good when it's Lane Johnson. He's good when it's a stellar right tackle. I'm so terrified of what he's going to do to Spencer Brown.
Yeah.
It's going to be miserable. Like it's pretty rare where it's just straightforward. No, we have to double team him every single snap. Like
Yeah,
there's no other scenario.
I was going to save this for later in the talking points, but there's a specific part I want to bring up. I'll tell you guys because you guys can brag about him all the time. But it was in the second quarter. Broncos are driving and about midfield. They've already gotten 2, maybe 3 first downs at this point. He forces a hold on first down. It goes to 1st and 20. He gets a sack on the next play, a negative 7-yard sack. It goes to 2nd and 27. And then he brings a pressure that forces Wilson to just check down. And it goes to 3rd and 34. And they kills the drive and punts. And it was all Max Crosby being just completely unguard blockable. It was the things you hear about of like a takeover moment in a game. And that just terrifies me. If you're within a puncher's chance and you got a guy like that, like he keeps you in the game.
Yeah. No question.
No,
it was like a turnover
sequence where No, it was like a turnover. There was a sequence where a holding call. He still got the tackle for loss, forced a 55-yard field goal that was missed. Yeah, he's unbelievable. With that being said, guys, your team's kind of pissed off after what happened on Monday night. Let's be honest.
They better be.
I will say,
I think
we
on
are
Sunday,
super nervous.
Yeah,
we are super nervous about.
Don't be.
What
I think
Max
you guys
is going to do to Spencer Brown. Pissed off Josh Allen has historically been terrifying.
Yeah. When you guys get off, we're going to get a little bit silly about that.
All right. So, but without further ado, we'll be respectful of your guys' time. You guys are great here tonight. We'll start with you, Scott. What do you expect this week? And give us a quick score prediction.
So what I expect actually, and it's funny too, because we did our show earlier tonight and my host gave me crap about it. Because I usually get from our listeners and viewers, I usually get a lot of crap because they say, oh, you're too negative. I actually think the Raiders will go and play well against the Bills. I don't think the Bills will win. I don't think the Raiders will win the game, but I'm going to pick a closer game. I think the Raiders are going to cover. I'll put it that way. I won't give you an exact number, but I think this game could be a little bit closer. If the Raiders defense, it's a big if the Raiders defense can play more consistently like it did in the second half versus Denver against the Bills, I think they'll keep it close. Ultimately, though, I think there's just more talent on the Bills side of the ball. So I think that the Bills will prevail, but I could see this as even a 3 to 5 point game.
Interesting. Adrian, how about you?
Complete opposite. I think the Bills win 34-17, 34-13. Yeah, I think you guys are going to eat a little bit of a reality check for the Raiders because this team ain't the Broncos. In fact, I had a conversation with Scott, like wondering, is Jimmy G going to be the worst quarterback in the division? Obviously, that's it's a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Sure. So it's not saying too much. But after seeing Russell Wilson, absolutely not. I don't care if Sean Payton is there or not. With that being said, I just think you guys are a lot more talented. I'm thinking 34. I'll go 34-17. And I do want to say one more thing before we get out of here. Look, maybe it's the Madden curse and it was just a bad game for you guys. But one thing I don't think that's been talked about with Josh Allen is I don't like the long sleeves that are baggy. Like it looks like he's on the JV team. He needs to make sure that it's dry fit, tight. Skin tight, or even like Zach Wilson. You notice, even though it was upper, it was like a t-shirt, like that was right there on the guns. I need that from Josh Allen because it looks a little silly. I think that's something that hasn't been talked about. It only
looks silly when he's playing like that. When he was playing that perfect game against New England, game against New England, he looked like an Adonis. You know,
but he's a little old school though. The baggy, he likes to slop you. I mean, remember he played college in Wyoming, so
that's right.
He's used to a little down home.
That's it.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, let the folks know where they can find your good work, what else you got coming up, and where they can enjoy more Raiders talk.
Go, Adrian.
No, you go. I'll go. Fine. Adrian Hernandez. You can find me on Twitter at AdrianRadio93. I'm here on the Bet Las Vegas. You can also catch the Sporting Tribune today, streaming on Fubo TV, Believe TV every Friday at 1 p.m. But again, on Twitter, that's AdrianRadio93.
Yeah, Adrian works his tail off, by the way. A great follow, and make sure you consume his content. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, at LV Gully. Our podcast is Silver and Black Today, which is an Odyssey original podcast, and you can get that wherever you get your audio as well. And you can catch my work up on sportsnaut.com, where I'm a full-time editor and writer too. So I write about the entire league there, baseball, you name it, but also obviously about the Raiders. So we appreciate you guys taking the time to have us on tonight.
Yeah, this is awesome. Really appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Take care. Both.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna pee my pants thinking about Max Crosby against Pennsylvania.
It's not fun.
It's just gonna ruin everything.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to watch 4 games of him and just
oh god,
the one game of him.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like on the offensive side of the ball, we'll get to it when the prediction comes. I think the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be a bounce back game. I think there's going to be a lot of feel good vibes with everything like that. However, Josh Jacobs is going to embarrass 2 or 3 people. Max Crosby is going to terrify us at least 2 or 3 times. I hope it's 2 or 3. It's not going to be without some moments that are going to make us be concerned. I think eventually it's going to feel good and it's going to be a fun celebratory day in Buffalo. But there are some grown men on this team. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of reinforcements around them.
I think our depth suffocates them for 4 quarters, but they're going to make some plays because of the top heavy depth.
Yes, 100%. Well, why don't we talk about what's going on the day before the game?
Do you want to? Let's do it. You and I, we actually have to get to planning. We got to get our list and stuff together here so we can get on it. But we are going to be down on the 500 block of Main Street here, pulling it up here for the We Are Back Deal With It America, the home opener eve party on the 500 block of Main Street. Our sponsor, Leftern, has been throwing this together, working so hard behind the scenes. I can't even tell you what the work that Greg has had to do to put this together. It's going to be fantastic. Tons of apparel, tailgating essentials, food and beverage offerings. For those of you not watching on YouTube, we're talking Oxford Pennant, 26 shirts, Queen City Vintage, Holy Smokes, which you got to get on Instagram and follow Holy Smokes if you don't. Some of the coolest designs out there. Greg, I know you're excited. Our friends from Q42 and Girls Mafia are going to be there as well, and some of the other food offering choices.
Obviously, it's going to be awesome to see Amon and Drew and the guys with Q42. I have never been able to sample the goodness of Macy's Pizza, so I'm excited to try that for the first time. All kinds of other cool stuff. Masuda Chow's, Kaylee's Cakes. I think there's going to be like an ice luge that you could take drinks out of.
He told me there was going to be an ice luge.
So I think there's going to be a lot of goodness going on. DJ Milk is going to be there from the Bills. All kinds of fun stuff. We are going to be doing a live show, welcoming out folks like Bulldog and Nate Geary, Pat Moran, Alex Brasky, Catherine Fitzgerald, all kinds of fun people coming out to hang out and talk with us. It's going to be a great time. We hope you guys come out and say hello and hang out with us as well. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be kind of that moment. It looks like the weather's going to be gorgeous.
I was going to say, I'm checking the weather now. So I think it's going to be nice all week here.
Yeah, just it's going to be fun. It's going to let us turn and get our attention off of that madness from Monday night and go into this game on Sunday in a way that we need to. And
or if you are going to still be mad about it, at least do it with an ice luge.
Yeah. Hey. It's a way to do it. And one last kind of close out to that night. I have gone through all of the phases of grief, like as you go through there with denial and anger and acceptance and all the different pieces. And I kind of I just started writing down thoughts and ideas that were kind of bouncing back in my head and put out a tweet that a little bit. And
did you write an apology letter to Josh about how mean we all were to him or no?
I put out the kind of the duality of what life is like with him. And that, I wrote, Josh is freaking awesome, but he wasn't on Monday night. He's done things on a football field we've never seen before. He did things on a football field we never want to see again. He's easily my favorite player, and him making very avoidable bad decisions is infuriating. I'm 100% that he will play amazing again, but I have no clue if he will ever play 4 amazing straight games in January and February, but he's our only chance to get to February. All those things are true and terrifying and amazing all at the same time, and that's just what our life is like, but at least we get that now. So, I'm not going to lie to myself and say that, it's okay, or even lie to myself and say that it's not going to happen again. There probably will be
a complete again today.
Meltdown, crazy game. Like, it's just how he's wired, but there's going to be more good than bad. There's going to be oftentimes quite a bit more good than bad. And honestly, all we need to lift a trophy is to get 4 good wins in a row. He's done 4 in a row before. All we need is 4 good wins in a row. 4 good wins in a row, and we get to hold a trophy up. Because if we get 4 of his good ones in a row, 4 of his good ones are better than anyone else.
Although we can't say that because we had the best one and we still lost. So I hate everything.
So just that was kind of my
Yeah,
final.
no.
I needed to like get the thoughts out of my head
Yeah.
that would let me move on, and that's
Right.
what came out.
Yeah, no, I've been saying all along, it's like 80% of the time you're going to get top 10 QB play, and mixed in there, you're going to get the most elite QB play possible, like stuff
Yeah.
that we've never
Yeah.
even seen. Then there's going to be 15%, 20% of what we saw on Monday night. And in a season, that's only 3 or 4 games, right? Like if it's 15% of the time he's playing like that, we're losing 3 games. I can live in that world. I think Tom Brady and the success the New England Patriots had skews how we view success and how we put bars on people here. We don't need Josh Allen to be Tom Brady. We need him to be Ben Roethlisberger. We need him to be even Aaron Rodgers, guys that just got one. Those other guys had stinkers. They had bad Monday night games. They had different bad playoff losses, more playoff losses than they had big playoff wins. None of their fan bases care anything about any of that other bad stuff that happened because they lifted a Lombardi together. That's all I need. He gives us a better chance than anyone since Jim Kelly. I even think a better chance than Jim Kelly gave us. I'm going to ride or die with this no matter what, all gas, no brakes, even if we have those moments like we had. Ultimately, man, how many teams in the league wouldn't mortgage and finance their entire franchise for a chance to have him? Like 5 teams? Like, I'm honestly, I'm not even trying to brag here. Maybe 8 teams wouldn't because they're somewhat comfortable, but it's most of the league would do anything to have a sniff at this guy. And so, yes, it was embarrassing. Yes, I'm sure your phones were blown up with text messages from other fan bases and sending you how shitty Josh is. Yeah, everyone was getting on me
so
too.
Many people wanted to check in on me Tuesday morning.
Yes.
Like, no, you didn't. You just want to see how destroyed I am.
Yes, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I think 11 times this year, we're going to have that 80% Josh Allen and be back to bragging and sending the other memes back the other way.
So the best part is reality is it should be something like Brian's list, KC, Cincy, maybe Chargers, Ravens. Hell, I'm sure Philadelphia can feel good about Jalen Hurts. That's fine. Yeah. The best part is Dolphins fans tell themselves that they wouldn't, and that makes my heart warm.
Right. Yeah,
that makes me feel so good. So let's try to turn the page ourselves, talk about this matchup a little bit. We did throw up that injury graphic, and that it kind of looked like our faces were hiding the bottom, and it wasn't. We just don't have anyone that's injured right now. So out of all the terrible things that happened Monday night, I think I saw Mitch Morse flexing his left hand at one point and kind of like trying to pop his fingers out. I think they got bent back a little bit. It was his left hand, not his snapping hand. It was his other hand. So ultimately, I think we actually came out of that unscathed long term, besides the mental anguish of experiencing the game and the loss.
The team,
the loss column.
Me, I don't.
Yeah, I may not recover mentally ever. But at least that part was good. So I think that's a positive looking forward. Yes. So let's talk a little bit. What are you expecting? It's hard to take a lot away from the matchup. I know you did some work today on the DVOA, and it's hard to take a lot from that this early. So what are you expecting from the matchup standpoint?
I think things come back to more what we projected teams to look like as we ramp into the season here, right? We all know week one's a liar. I preach about it going into week one. Everybody talks about it going into week one. Week one shows up here and everybody starts firing off takes about everything they saw in that moment and what's going to happen. I think the Bills are going to be fine. Aaron Schatz, who you had on the Greg Thompson Sports Show this year, and we've had on before, has been very level-headed. I think everyone should go read his Twitter of saying, like, look, this isn't who the Bills are. This was a really weird game. This is a really weird moment. This team is going to come back to exactly what we thought they were, and probably the defense is going to be better than maybe even expected, is what people are saying. So I think this is the game. It's a get-right game, in my opinion. It's nothing against Vegas. Nothing at the Raiders. They will respect them. They will respect the people that are involved, the Max Crosby's, your Devontae Adams. They're going to make plays. Like you said, Josh Jacobson's going to make plays, but the Bills should smother this team with depth. It's why you have so much of it. And this is the best opportunity to get right. You're coming back home. You've got a team that you are more talented than on paper. You've had more success than. You've been together longer than. They are in a rebuild mode. Yeah, I'm sure they feel good about being the Broncos, but that wasn't a big win when you go back and watch it. Neither team really seemed like they wanted to win that game all that much. It was who's going to just get to the end with the lead.
They played slightly less bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty football game to watch back this afternoon. And so I felt pretty good coming out of that this is a great opportunity to get back to showing that we can outclass a team. The Jets are just going to be annoyingly tough for the Bills as long as that defense plays the way that they do. That's going to give Josh Allen problems, and that's just might be our Achilles heel.
Yeah.
But again, if we're winning that 11, 12 games, it doesn't really matter.
Well, so I'll give a good example. How many years did we see the Patriots be the dominant best team in the league on their way to winning the Super Bowl, and every single year stub their toe against the Dolphins over and over and over again? Like it just, there was something weird that the matchup and the way that it worked, they would split with the Dolphins and lose to the Dolphins every year. It didn't mean that they won any less in the playoffs.
No.
They kind of had their number. And for whatever reason, that Jets defense is Josh Allen's kryptonite. I'd love to say it'll be the last time, but it won't. It won't. So we'll deal with it, and it doesn't have any effect here. And I think that, obviously I know you did the prep work here on the DVOA matchup, and there's not a ton to take away this early, but it does show, the Bills having the 31st special teams, which will happen when you allow a walk-off punt return touchdown.
Yes.
And obviously the fact that they played so badly and Vegas won and the Bills have a higher DVOA is a good indication of like even how bad,
just where the rosters stand.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. So as we go into this matchup, I agree. I think that it is going to be smothering from an offensive attack. I also think what got lost on Monday night in the, it's Zach Wilson, they weren't going to be able to do much anyways. That defensive line looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And that defensive line looked good. And the Jets offensive line is about the same as what the Raiders offensive line is. Honestly, I don't even know if there's anybody as good as Elijah Vera Tucker on
Probably
the Raiders line. Like Colton Miller had moments where he looked good, and then he's also looked pretty rough. So I don't know that there's anybody they feel awesome about. I mean, they're starting Greg Van Roten. Like a guy who couldn't even make our roster is starting for them. I think it's going to be, I know Bills fans love the idea of Dylan Parham, and that was always one that would get thrown back with some of the draft picks that we could have used differently. And then instead of Terrell Bernard, we could have taken Dylan Parham. And I always remind people, you're frustrated at the idea of what you thought Dylan Parham was going to be. Dylan Parham allowed the most pressures of any guard in the NFL. Like he played terribly. Mm-hmm. So I think that our defensive line is going to overwhelm this offensive line and make it a real problem. Josh Jacobs is still going to make some individual plays. He's going to break some tackles, and there's going to be some moments where we get frustrated with the run defense. Josh Jacobs is a stud. Yeah. There's going to be times where Devontae Adams catches the ball even though he's covered and is going to make a play. I don't think they can make enough plays for it to matter up and down the field, and I think it's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, no, all that we were talking about Jimmy G, and that the analytics always show that he's efficient and stuff like that. But the way to get to him is with pressure, right? Like he doesn't handle pressure all that well. Those are the games that he's going to struggle in, and so I do agree. I think that this will be an opportunity for them to showcase a little more. It did get lost a little bit in that Jets game, how good the defense was, because everybody expects you to be good against Zach Wilson. And they weren't finishing in sacks. He was able to, that one time where he was like being dragged down and throws the ball out sideways for a first down. Like there was a couple of moments where he just evaded the sack, but the pressure turned into a bad play. And obviously if you're not getting the sacks, everyone doesn't really want to talk about that and how well you were getting pressures. And so I think they're going to be able to do that. I think you're going to bait Jimmy G into making a couple bad ones. Even as efficient as he is, he still will put the ball in some really weird spots that you're wondering what he's doing. Matt Milano's going to take those again, like he did this last week. And so I think there's going to be some opportunities from turnovers to get created by the Bills defense, which is what we're going to need. And I just don't think, again, the depth doesn't seem like they're going to be able to hang 4 quarters without just – the Bills could still probably play sloppy. Not a 4 turnover game, but like Josh could still go out there and Max Crosby gets a strip sack or something like that. And I think you have the talent to overcome that, especially at home.
Yeah. So a couple really good comments I want to highlight here. Pete saying that, a lot of people said it, he doesn't think that Monday night game is much different than the 2021 opener against Pittsburgh or that loss against Jacksonville. 2 of our 2 games from some of our most memorable seasons ever, like some seasons that ended in a fantastic manner, had a really ugly start like that. Yeah. I thought that was a really good comp. And I know I was on
that one Titans game early where that weird pass to Andre Roberts went off for an interception. That was another weird one.
I think people have brought up the Lawyer Malloy Sam Adams game that, one of the Patriots' most historic seasons started with a 31-0 thrashing and didn't stop them from the rest of the season. So I think both of us feel very confidently that there's a lot more good coming. But I want to ask Roy's question here. If the Bills struggle against the Raiders, if we were somehow to struggle and lose to the Raiders, would you, not that we couldn't get our minds back around how it's still possible and that, hey, there's still 15 more games to go, blah, blah, blah. I agree with him. I would actually start to worry.
I am going to, I think I'm going to defer to the Von Miller mentality of only
I
thinking
refuse to acknowledge. I refuse to acknowledge that
positives.
reality. I am only going to think in positive affirmations.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't want to even put that out into the universe.
Because here's the thing, it's going to be a real shitty night for us. I hate to swear, it's going to be a tough night for you and I if they come on with back-to-back losses to start the season. The data is not favorable to losing 2 games in a row.
Bad news.
Then it becomes the Bills are maybe on that radar of being the team that does have the letdown and is going to be the one division winner that ends up missing the playoff. One of those division winners every year misses the playoffs. We don't want to be that. You lose 2 in a row. It not necessarily indicates that it's going to happen, but that is the conversation, right? The analytics are going to start coming out about what it looks like when you lose 2 in a row. And we don't want to go there. We don't want to have those conversations. Pressure has been ramped up just fine enough. I think we're good with the amount of pressure we've seen. Get this win and get back going forward.
Correct. So with that in mind, before we get to our final, predictions for the game, we want to share a message about the best way that you guys can support us, and that is with our Cover One OnePass, and we'll go into that read here. Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One OnePass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
All right. So again, we talk about the environment and culture that we've built there with the Slack channel. It probably wasn't the best place on Monday night. So unfortunately, it does not have a magic bubble that protects it from frustration and emotional reactions to things. But I will say the vast majority of the time, it is a great place to be.
Yes, it is. Our friend from the Slack channel, Nicholas Lowe, asking how many takes was this ad? It was very smooth.
Be honest.
We'll be honest.
It was 2. And
honestly, the first one was pretty good.
The first one was actually good. Now, the second one was really good, and we were happy with it. But we weren't even sure if we needed to do a second one, and that was the second take. So
I think if we did a third one, we would have broke the internet.
Well, obviously.
We wanted to keep it kind of not good, right? And it just...
we had to manage expectations.
That's it.
So without further ado, I will let you choose. Do you want me to lead off, or do you want to go first?
With our fresh design of the week?
Yes.
Well, before we get into the fresh design of the week, the actual design of the week, I just wanted to bring up the talking point of the fresh design of the week. That even though as bad as this offense looked, right, it's hard. Josh was right. It was 4 plays, really 5, because there was another one that should have been intercepted. But other than that, there was some good conservative play that Eric brought up, right? Like taking the checkdowns, heavy 12 personnel, getting the ball involved to Kincaid and Knox with equal distribution. I'd like more of that, but we talk about it all the time with Sean McDermott. Everyone's seeing the possibilities for changes and how's that's going to come in. It's going to be 10%. It's going to be 15%. The amount of increase in 12 personnel from the stats that I read off last week about Bills just not operating in 12 personnel. We knew they were going to get Kincaid. We knew it was going to be a thing. The question was, where was it going to lie? They fully committed, right? And so, while the results didn't render, how are you feeling about the full-on commitment to rolling 12 personnel out there this weekend, even though the results didn't pan out for us?
Yeah, I think that if you had asked about, we had a lot of debate on where the usage would be and different things, and I think both of us felt pretty comfortably. And I think I asked you if we had to rank Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Deontay Hardy, and Trent Sherfield in order of snaps played. I think we both said that the tight ends might be a little bit higher and put them above where the receivers were. There's no chance you would have told me that it was going to be Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid at 58 and 55 snaps and Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield at 16 and 15 snaps, or 15 and 11 snaps. There's no way you would have convinced me that we would have had those two on the field. We played 69 offensive snaps total.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had those two, Dawson Knox was on the field 58 and Dalton Kincaid 55. That is an enormous amount to shift. And I have not seen where it ranks league wide. I haven't seen those metrics come out
I
there.
haven't either, yeah.
That is, I don't think it's crazy to say we may have had the most 12 personnel in the league. I think that it's very, very close to that amount. So even the most excited, aggressive fans in the usage, this was more than anyone I saw predicting.
Yeah, and so for me, this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, the talk is how the offense looked because of erratic play from Josh, but if you could have taken those 4 plays out, would it have been really nice and efficient, exactly what they were looking for, and ability to maybe lean more into the run game? We saw some nice things out of the run game. They just kind of went away from it. Is 12 going to give them the physicality they need if they can rear Josh in?
One, yes, I absolutely think it does. And I don't even think you need to take the 4 plays back. All you need is the one.
Sure.
One play. The 2 first interceptions, we had already survived those. We had already made it past there. 9 minutes left in the game, 3rd and 2. Everybody's debated on, did Josh force it into double coverage? Was it Gabe Davis not running the right route? Was Dalton Kincaid open, or was Sauce Gardner have too much leverage? Could he have gotten back to the read of Stephon Diggs coming across the middle? Could Josh have run for the first down? All those different debates and questions. Anything there, any other outcome of incompletion, completion, conversion, and they punt it back, or God forbid they convert and run 3 more times and then punt, or even more, convert, get 1 more first down and just kick a field goal, and none of this conversation is going on. It just that tells you how much of a razor's edge it took. Now things went downhill afterwards. You then gave up the crazy tipped score. You gave up the crazy falling down 28-yard rifle that Zach Wilson pulled off. You had the weird exchange thing where Josh picks it up and then gets hammered by Clemens and fumbles it. Like, none of those things are in position to happen if not for that one play. And now we're talking about it, I'm experiencing it as this unbelievable meltdown. And no, it's just sometimes football games tip in that manner. And I think that having that kind of idea of the 12 personnel usage and leaning back into it and really going to it, I think, for kind of my thoughts on the fresh design of the week, is leaning into what you said. I think we see a higher run usage, and I think we might see a really big Latavius Murray game. That's going to be my call. Is that I think everyone's expecting a little bit more. I think we're expecting a good James Cook game. I think I won't steal any thunder. I think there may be a prediction of some tight end usage. I expect the sneaky one for me is I think we're going to see Latavius Murray and Damian Harris with a bigger presence in this game, and I think we could see a lot more than 4 minutes of 4-minute offense. Really leaning on them and standing out in a big way. And honestly, what better way to give Spencer Brown a break in this game than to run straight at Max Crosby, where all of a sudden Spencer Brown's not a liability. He is a good run blocker, and let him have combo blocks with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid and Reggie Gilliam coming right at Max Crosby over and over and over again. See if you can wear him down a little bit.
Yeah. The only thing I'm really worried about is like if our punter is really a football player or not. Like, can he tackle, or is he? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I agree. I put out a tweet earlier, Greg. I don't know if you saw it, they were talking about Bills needing to get Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. I think it was Albert Breer maybe.
Yes.
And I'm just so frustrated with that constant conversation that the Bills are in search of and need those big name running backs. Like, sure, if they get one, cool, that's fine, whatever. I will be excited. I'll talk myself into it. But in the tweet I said, James Cook looked awesome, and I had a ton of pushback on that. And you look at the box score and it's like, yeah, okay, it doesn't look awesome. But I watched that game back twice, and he did look awesome. The Bills went away from running him and went away from the type of running that he was doing well in that game and stressing the defense. And so it's hard to say, like, every time I see this guy out there, he's looking better. He's looking more polished. The vision's there. Being able to get down and get yards is there. And then the Bills continue to just kind of pull back. Every time it looks a little bit good, we get less James Cook when I just want him to do more. So I don't care if it's, to your point, Murray or whatever. I want to see more of a concerted commitment to the run game.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be a big way to do it. And I think that we can see more. I know you would ask for it, that, we need to maybe double the usage of what we had for Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. I think we could see it this week. I think we're really going to lean into it heavy. And I expect there to be a lot of, I want to see play action. I want to see more run game, and I want to see play action with checkdowns and quick passes to Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. Yes.
You saw it working. Yes. You've seen the proofs in the pudding. We know Sean McDermott talked about needing more of that production outside of Stephon Diggs. We know that Josh Allen was at his best when Beasley was operating in the slot and in the middle of the field. Yes. Go back and watch Eric Turner's video on YouTube, on the Cover One YouTube channel here, of the evolution of that slot position and the predictions that he had for how Kincaid could operate in that. And you saw it come to fruition, and on only 8 targets. So why can't if I'm in Dorsey's room and I'm Joe Brady, I'm saying we got to at least get that to double for these guys and get these guys up to 14 targets between the two of them and keep that middle of the field and those chains moving.
Yeah, 12 to 14 seems like a really good sweet spot.
Man.
I like it.
So we got another fresh design, though, from our guys over at Leftern. You want to tell us about this one this week? Yes. I love this thing.
For real, this one might be one of the most fun ones I've seen. So Dylan Goodsell designed this. Scene Red is the name of the design. As always, there's only 100 stamped and numbered prints available. They go really fast. It launched here this evening. Make sure you look at it. All of the designs for this year go to help support Buffalo Cares, which helps, feed and take care of animals that are sheltered in the Buffalo area. And this one is really fantastic. And if you haven't seen it, make sure you check out this. Artist also does animation, and he did a full animated look of a certain number 17 pilot jumping into this big avatar looking bison creature and being able to get ready to go into the fight. It's one of my favorite ones I've seen, and I actually am excited. I'm going to purchase one myself.
Are you? Yeah, no, I
love it. I love it. I
might pull the trigger on this one as myself tonight too, because this one will look cool in my kids' room. This is a cool kid design one. They would love it. Although I might try to keep it down here in the playroom area. But no, this is cool. And you're right. That animated video, when he sent us the text earlier, giving us the inside look on it, I was like, damn, that one's pretty sick.
Yeah, so. Dude, my exact response was, it's really cool to be associated with such ridiculously talented people. Like, I have no you at least have artistic abilities. I have none. Like, so I'm always amazed at people. Like, this isn't somebody like going into an app and being able to make something kind of look like it. Like, he created a full animation. It's unbelievable. It's
super cool. And you asked who was going to go first with predictions. I think that graphic leads into where I'm at, and so I'll go first into this one. Yeah, dude, I believe in what I've seen out of the people that lead this organization time and time again. I don't think that Sean McDermott is going to let this team come in off of a loss like that and just show up at home and not put it to this Raiders team. I don't think Josh Allen's wired that way either individually. A bunch of guys all over this team. I think they knew when they got back in the building to get back to work. Again, the short week's nice for us emotionally to get over it. It's also a perfect opportunity to get over such a stinker game, because you have to get right back to work and you have to get right back in the lab and put the work in. And so you don't have time really to think about what happened last week, and you just got to go forward with the season. So I think they do. I think they put on a show for the fans on the home opener. I think this defense really gives the Raiders a hard time. I do have the Raiders getting close. I think the spread I saw was 9.5 on this one. And so I have the Bills clearing that. I got them Bills winning 27, Raiders 17. And I think the Raiders might even score late where it's like a garbage touchdown and we don't even care that they got an extra one on the board. I think they're going to give Jimmy G a real hard time. Josh Jacobs might get some of his. Doesn't really concern me at all. He can get a few points, but I think the Bills turn it back on, put some scores out there. And it might even be to the point where we don't see Josh Allen doing a whole lot of throwing late in the game because they put it up so early and you're just kind of coasting this one to the win. And then it comes back to life and everybody's like, okay, Josh Allen is really good at football again.
So one, I agree wholly in that. I think that is right in the kind of idea. And I want to give credit. There's a guy that I interact with on Twitter, Michael Anderson, is a good follow as well. He said his analogy was Rocky 2. And that in Rocky 2, Mick trains Rocky to be able to fight right-handed and to be able to fight in a normal way and in a conventional way and to make yourself fight the way that everybody else thinks you're supposed to fight. And then come the 7th or 8th round, you hear Mick shout, now, and boom, he switches back to southpaw, and that's how he takes down Apollo Creed. And then he pulls it out when he needs it, not going to it the whole time. That's what I'm ready to see. In this game, Washington, we've got a couple early on here in the season. I'm okay if what we see on Sunday is Josh Allen with an efficient 225 yards and 1 passing touchdown and 4 carries for 28 yards. And that's it, because we run for 200 yards. And that because there's a lot of checkdowns and movement and he's controlling the game and it's never out of reach, and that he can show, hey, I can run this the way that we need to. And yes, maybe one of those is an awesome laser down the field, and one of them is a fantastic highlight reel run on 3rd down to be able to pick it up, and he keeps everything moving. But he shows, hey, I have this in my bag as well. I have this club to be able to go to, and that, I can pull out the driver and I can outdrive everybody on tour, and I can do that too, but I also have this. And that I kind of think he was on the way to doing that on Monday. And then, like you said, he let those couple plays get away from him and it went the way that it went. I'm okay if that's what we see, is that controlled dominance, and that, it's never in check. But I don't get me wrong, I'll be excited.
I was going to say, I'm also okay if it's reckless chaos. And
if it's 375 and 4 touchdowns and he runs for 85 yards and he's
hurdling people again.
Avatar Josh Allen, that's cool too. But I want people to kind of prepare themselves that that's not the only awesome outcome, that we can have control of this game. And I think that we will see something like that with, maybe we have 3 guys with more than 50 yards rushing each. I think that would be really cool. When's the last time we saw that in a Buffalo Bills team? Non-Josh Allen, 3 running backs run for 50 yards each. I want to see that kind of game where we just control it. It's never out of reach, or it's never within reach, and that we have just command of the game the entire time. So I'm going to predict 37-16. I think the Bills take control, pull away, score almost every drive. I think there is a possibility that we don't see a lot of Sam Martin in this game, because I do think that maybe we have some field goals. Maybe there's a couple times where we have to kind of, check out what's going on. Great one from Lauren here. For anybody who doesn't watch Ted Lasso, this is a fantastic one. When her analogy would be that when Ted Lasso is playing darts right-handed against Rupert and then saying, oh yeah, I'm left-handed, and then switches and starts playing. It has an awesome soliloquy at the end of that about how people underestimated him, and where the comment in that show comes from, be curious, not judgmental. It's a fantastic scene. It's worth everybody checking it out. I want to see something like that. I want to see where we can control everything that's going on. Josh can show him that we can play normal. We're going to need superstar psychopath Josh to be able to do the things we want to accomplish this year. It doesn't have to be every game. This is one of those games where he can show, I can be controlled, I can command everything that's going on, and it doesn't have to be about me putting up a superstar stat line. I can give the team what they need and let the other talented people around me win the day. I want to see that on Sunday. I want to see him controlling everything, but setting other people up to be successful and show that that's in his bag too.
I can live with it. Just get this dub. That's all we need.
You want to see 375 and 4 touchdowns, don't you?
I want to have fun. I want to, some GIFs and stuff. I want to tweet out memes. This week sucked, man. I want it back to the way, like, the fun that I have with Josh. I want that in my life again.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, folks, you guys were awesome. This is fantastic here tonight. One quick way to be able to kind of help support us. We talked about our OnePass membership that you can sign up for. Another easy way, if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, if you enjoyed us having guests like Scott and Adrian on, that was because we were able to go out to the super or to the draft out in Las Vegas. We're able to go to the Senior Bowl to do these things. We're able to have access to the new home for DVOA and PFF and all of the film that we break down, all the tools that we use. All those things are very simple from your support. And the easiest way to do that is to press the like button. You just let other people know. That's how the referrals work nowadays. That's how word of mouth works nowadays. If you enjoyed what you watched here, all we need is on your way out, press the like button. Even better, if you want to go in and just help the algorithm and leave us a comment, tell us the craziest thing we said today. Tell us what your expectations are for this game. Tell us what your dream stat line is for Josh Allen on Sunday. Let us know what you want to see there. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, like the show. That goes a long ways. We really, really would appreciate it.
Even if you think we're idiots and you didn't enjoy the show at all, which if you're at this point in the show, I think you either are masochists or you did enjoy it really. But you're welcome to also disagree with us and tell us we're idiots in the comments. Those help too.
Yeah. So some of the most engagement that my tweets get is when people are really, really, really want to tell me how dumb I am and what an idiot I am. That's some of the most engagement that I get on Twitter. So
that's okay.
You know, it's hey, it's the way the
all vent in different ways.
Works. Yeah. You know. All right, guys. Thank you so much. The chat was fantastic. All of you guys who are here all the time supporting us, we really, really do appreciate you. And we notice the people who are here every week. It really does mean a lot. But on behalf of our awesome producer, Chris Kepner, and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are